Welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. We got a great show coming your way. It is our Eagles season preview show as this 2025-2026 Eagles season is just about underway here. If you're listening to this, it might already have been underway. The Thursday night game against the Eagles and Cowboys may have already taken place by the time you're listening to this. I'm Jeff Warren. Here, my good buddy Len Hunsicker. Buddy, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm ready to see some Eagles football, ready to see how they follow up on a title defense here.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into some NFL predictions as well. We're going to talk division winners, wild card winners as well. I think this is going to be a fantastic show. It is all football basically this week, except for our listener feedback, which we are going to get into.
The complaint department.
It really is. Like, that's basically what it is. It is the complaint. I love that. The complaint department. Why don't we call it that? It shouldn't even be listener feedback anymore.
Well, I mean, they're not complaining about us, which is good.
That's true.
So as long as that's the case, then we're doing what we're supposed to do, I guess.
I love the complaint department aspect of this. We're going to get into that. But again, really quick in terms of the show outline for this week, getting some listener feedback with regard to Major League Baseball, how people have to watch it, as well as the Phillies. Then, like I said, our NFL predictions for this upcoming season, all division winners, wild card, who's going to win the NFC and AFC Championship games, the Super Bowl matchup, Super Bowl winner. Going to dive into those predictions. And then we're going to get into the Eagles 53-man roster, talk about concerns on offense and defense, what we're most excited for about the offense and defense as well this year. But then we're going to get into the Eagles season predictions, which is who's going to be the breakout guy on the team this year, who is going to be the Eagles rising star player, who's going to be the guy that needs to rebound this year, the defensive player of the year, the offensive player of the year, the Eagles regular season record. We're going to give all those predictions. And then, as we do every year, it is a tradition here at the PST Podcast Show to talk to our good friend Brandon Lee Gowton from BleedingGreenNation.com to get his take on what we can expect from the Philadelphia Eagles this coming season as part of our Eagles season preview show. So, Len, buddy, why don't we get into our listener feedback really quick here? And we are going to start off with one of our good friends, April, who lives down south, and she's responding actually to something that Eric and I this past week on last week's show talked about. She said, "Hey guys, in response to this past week's show, I totally agree with your rant. My dad and I have a special extra issue that we both live outside the greater Philadelphia area. We pay for Major League Baseball, MLB network, but we are blacked out for Atlanta Braves games. Do I need to mention that we are 210 miles from Truist Park, and we pay to watch every MLB game of choice, but cannot watch our preferred team, the Philadelphia Phillies, whenever they play the Braves, regardless of where they play? And do not get me started on the commercials. I am absolutely ready to buy a Defender just so I don't have to watch another single commercial about that damn car." So that was part one of the complaint department, Len. Part two, as we get into this, it's more of a compliment to Eric. She says, "Always love Eric, especially his hair. Ooh la la, ooh la la." But
he won't get a big head about that or anything.
Exactly. But I've never loved him more than his take on Jordan Romano. Every time he steps on the mound, I lose a year off of my life, a la Count Rugen's life-sucking machine from The Princess Bride. Always love the top three list, guys, even if they are the worst of. Keep up the awesome work and therapy that is your show. So thanks so much for the email, April. Again, Len, I love how you said it's the complaint department. But look, she absolutely has a point. Major League Baseball, like, I was actually watching something online today where they're talking about all the streaming services. They're talking about how sports are being watched anymore, and specifically what's going to be happening with the NBA as well, and that people are just going to have to purchase every freaking streaming service out there in order to watch their teams play, just these leagues and associations, if they want to enjoy the sport anymore. It's really getting sad. It's getting pathetic. It's getting expensive, and these folks at the higher ups, they really don't give a shit.
Well, and if you guys talked about this at all, by all means, let me know. But I have a
you mean thought. You didn't listen to the show?
I did not listen to it this past week. Correct.
I'm kidding. Kidding.
That is
Yes.
correct. And I hate to be doom and gloom here, but there's a war coming down the pike.
Yeah.
The owners want a salary cap. The MLB Players Association had said we'll never do a salary cap.
Right.
So the CBA runs out after the 2026 season, after next season. After that happens, there will, by the way, everybody's talking. I'm guessing we're looking at probably another strike or another lockout or another something. And if that cuts into any time, I feel like we've had a few of these just since we've started the show. And maybe I'm wrong. I know we've had at least one. Now we're getting into the territory.
Getting real close. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that point, like you're really like, more than ever, people don't have a lot of money. So now the millionaires are fighting the billionaires, and guess who doesn't care? If they do that and they alienate their audience, my thought and my hope is that they, as a concession, whenever we do come back, they say, all right, Major League Baseball app, no blackouts. Everybody, because where I live right now in central Pennsylvania, I can't watch the Phillies. I can't watch the Pirates. I can't watch the Orioles, and I can't watch the Nationals. That's 4 teams. I can't watch their games. So if they go down that route, if they do a strike, I'm already ready to walk.
Right.
I'm already thinking ahead, and I'm getting myself ready to walk. So if you want to get me back, guess what? That MLB app, it's all free, or not all free. Okay, I get, you're going to have people, subscribing to a service. But that blackout shit, that I can't watch my team, any of that stuff, that's over. Or else that has to be, if this happens, that has to be a give back to the fans. Has to be non-negotiable, because, man, you are really playing with fire with, doing another one of these things if it happens. And based on the animosity between owners and players and the tough talk I've been hearing, I don't see a scenario in which they get that hammered out. So that's my hope. If they do it, and when they come back, you better get rid of the blackouts. Otherwise,
there's going to be a lot of pissed off people, and there's going to be a lot of people leaving watching it. I'm serious. Like, I remember us talking about it before. Like, are people actually going to leave? Are people, because once a strike,
it's already a sport that's, it's a sport that requires attention, and more and more people have less of an attention span because of all that stuff. So you're trying like hell to bring people back. If you go away again, you better be ready to hand it over. Because that's the only way you're getting people back. It's definitely the only way they're getting me back if it goes down that route. I should be able to go on that app that I go on, and it shouldn't just be, Padres versus Brewers I'm watching.
Right.
I should be able to watch every Phillies game right there on that app.
Absolutely. Great feedback there, April and Len. That's pretty good analysis about what we may be seeing in the future for sure. Yeah. But moving along with listener feedback, we had another email from longtime listener Francis, and this is a very simple email, Len. Simple, straight to the point. He wasn't screwing around at all. Francis was not screwing around at all. Shot us an email off right after the Phillies lost 3 games to the Mets in a row. He says, dropping 3 straight against the Mets. Fuck them. Lazy motherfuckers. That's it. Nothing else to really say at all. Appreciate you guys. Hope you have a great holiday weekend. Thank you so much. It was so just in your face, like, you know what? I hate this team. But I do want to really quick, Len, I want to say, Francis, that's like the most Philly sports type of email that you could have given to the complaint department and to the listener feedback portion of this show. I mean, it was so Philly of you in that moment to do that. I loved it, Len.
Yeah, and he's not wrong. I mean, they better hope like hell the Mets don't make the playoffs, because if they have to play the Mets again in the playoffs, sorry, I'm not picking them. I can't. I mean, look, based on what's happened this season, based on how it ended last season, there's something about that team where there's just some kind of bugaboo where they just swing it awful shit. I don't know what happens when they play that team.
Yep.
But I have no faith in them against the Mets.
You can't at this point. You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen what we have seen. It's whether it's they're getting in their head, and I'm talking about the Phillies players, whether they are in their own heads, especially when they're at Citi Field. It is absolutely astonishing what this team goes through when playing the New York Mets. So great emails, folks. We really appreciate you reaching out. And if you are interested in writing us, sending us an email, PhiladelphiaSportsTable@gmail.com. We would love to read your email here on the show and respond to it, as we did with Francis's email and April's as well. So, Len, let's get into our discussion this week about the professional football. We're going to talk NFL predictions here for this upcoming season, then get into some Eagles predictions as well. So let's start off our NFL predictions here for this. As my mic, I hit my mic and it just freaking went everywhere. Did you see that? Holy crap.
I did.
Let's go through each division. We're going to pick division winners and the wild card winners at this point. Len, I mean, hey, why don't we start off with let's start off with the NFC. Let's go with the NFC North. Who do you like in the NFC North to win the division?
I feel like this is going to be such a trendy pick since they got Micah Parsons, but I'm going to go Green Bay.
I'm going to go Green Bay as well. I think that they are definitely the favorites. And yes, Micah Parsons really does put them over the edge. And do I think Jordan Love is going to be a better quarterback this season? I absolutely do. He has a young wide receiver core who I think is going to continue to develop with him. Green Bay Packers for sure for me. So we're definitely in agreement on that one. Is it Micah Parsons with you in particular? Is that why you're thinking that he's going to be able to put them over the edge?
I feel like Jordan Love is going to take a little bit more of a step forward this year. Parsons is obviously going to help the defense.
Yeah.
And I just feel like, even though I'm going to pick them, spoiler alert, as one of my wild card teams, I feel like there's got to be some kind of comeback to earth with Detroit. And I think that Green Bay takes that division.
Okay. Let's move over to the NFC West. Let's do the NFC West. I am going to be picking the San Francisco 49ers to win this division. I think this is a team that has remained, quote, consistent when they don't have injuries. I cannot imagine this team having as many injuries as they have had the past couple seasons.
They really took it on the chin last year with all the injuries.
Did, man.
I mean,
yeah. But I think if they are healthy and are able to stay healthy, I would imagine they probably would. I cannot imagine them having a season like last year from an injury perspective. I'm picking the San Francisco 49ers. Who do you have in the NFC West?
Yeah, I'm also going 49ers.
Okay.
And again, and it's just basically because I just can't believe that's going to happen to them with all those injuries.
Right.
2 years in a row. I just don't see it.
All right, let's move to the NFC South. Who are you thinking here? And oh my gosh, I got to read Eric's as well. I completely forgot about Eric's. Well, why don't you dive into the NFC South at this point? And I'm going to get Eric's picks up here that he shot us off a little earlier today.
So the South, I don't know what to make of it. I don't believe in Carolina yet. The Saints, I think, might end up being one of the worst teams in football this year.
I agree.
So I think it's a 2-horse race. I mean, man, Michael Penix might be one of the more interesting players in football this year, because I think if he does what he can do, what I think he can do, I think Atlanta's got a good shot at winning that division. Only because, like, is Tristan Wirfs, is he out for the year for Tampa?
I don't know if he's out for the year. I'll have to look that up. I don't know if
because he's got an injury.
It's for a
Chris
while.
Godwin's coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on there. I'm gonna go Atlanta, but I don't feel great about it. If Tampa wins that division, it wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, Tristan Wirfs, his return is uncertain. He's going to miss at least the beginning of this season. So I do think he'll be back at some point. And guess what? I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons as well, just because of what you said with Michael Penix. And I think if if oh my gosh, who's their tight end?
Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah.
This guy has so much talent and has been through the ringer with how many quarterbacks during his young career.
Yeah, I remember
how
when he
many
was drafted,
coordinators.
how like people were just going nuts, like, oh man, this guy's gonna revolutionize the tight end position and all that.
This
stuff.
guy, yeah, he actually has a quarterback that's able to throw the ball to him. The thing about Michael Penix was he didn't always handle the rush well. When it came to that last game, his last college game ever against Michigan, he was on the run. He didn't have a lot of pass rushing throughout the course of his senior year when he was playing, and I think that could be a bit troublesome for him. But still, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to take that division for sure. I'd be remiss if I didn't read Eric's predictions here so far. In terms of the NFC North, he also picked Green Bay, Len. He also, or I shouldn't say also, but he actually picked Tampa Bay to win the NFC North.
Okay.
And he picked the Seattle Seahawks. He thinks Sam Darnold's gonna maybe put on a bit of a show there and get them to the playoffs.
It's certainly possible.
Yeah, possible for sure. I guess let's move to the NFC East now.
Okay.
Do you think it's going to be the Washington Commanders, Len? Do you think it is? What do you think about the NFC East?
The whole no team has won the division back-to-back years since, what was it, 03, 04?
It's like 04, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes me like, but I'm going to go
that
Eagles.
Shit ends. Yes, that shit's going to end.
Yeah.
It's done.
I just don't see enough. I think Daniels is a hell of a quarterback, but I feel like everybody is just waiting to crown him and waiting to make him like the next. Oh, he's the best quarterback, at least in the NFC.
I think there's going to be some regression with him, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see a world in which there's a step back. And that's, look, I'm not saying the Eagles are going to be a juggernaut. There's some stuff with them that scares me. I think they've got some holes, particularly defensively, that I think we're going to have a couple games here and there where we're pretty damn frustrated with what we see.
We're going to get into that for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but I don't see enough from any of these other teams to make me go away from the Eagles unless they have like a 49ers type season with injury.
Absolutely. I'm going with Philadelphia Eagles too. I think that streak of not having a back-to-back division winner, that shit ends this season. It's done. It's done. All right, let's move over to the AFC. Now, let's start with the AFC North. Who do you think is going to be winning the AFC North this coming season?
I can't imagine there's going to be too many people not picking the Bills.
It's going to be that's the AFC East.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
AFC North.
Oh, AFC North. I'm sorry. I'm blanking. Well, okay, same deal. Just swap out the Ravens for the Bills. So
why don't we just do the AFC East and the AFC North right now, because you and I have the same exact picks for these.
And guess what? So does everybody else.
Yeah. Buffalo winning the AFC East, Baltimore winning the AFC North. Eric has the same as well. What are your thoughts on the AFC South?
Let's put it this way. The AFC South is the only division where not everybody is going to have the same team. Right. I mean, can we agree on that?
I think so. Yep.
Oh man, you want to talk about a division that, I mean,
talk about turds.
Don't know what to make of these teams. Jacksonville seems perpetually like tripping over themselves. The Colts quarterback situation is abysmal.
Yeah.
I mean, Ward over in Tennessee, he's a rookie. It's an awful lot to put on him. It's Texans by default for me.
Okay. Texans by default. I'm actually going to go with what Eric thought too. I think Jacksonville is going to take that next step. I do.
Well, I mean,
I believe it's going to happen.
Well,
finally.
Maybe one of these years.
Christ, I keep picking them every freaking year.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. It's got to happen one of these years.
Eventually, right?
Yes. Look, I think Trevor Lawrence, yes, he is a very high-paid quarterback for the type of productivity that he gives this team. Way too many interceptions year after year, but I do think that Trevor Lawrence is going to really help this offense in a lot of ways this year from a maturity standpoint He's going to be able to get the ball downfield, in my opinion. So
Yeah, he's a guy that if you're looking for a leap candidate, a guy to really take a step forward this year,
yeah,
if he happens to be that guy, then they're a
yeah.
slam dunk, I think, in the South.
Well, Eric and I may be talking about the Houston Texans at some point, okay?
Okay,
As we're moving
fair
along
enough.
with our predictions. So let's go now with the the AFC West at this point. I mean, the Chiefs, I think, are still going to remain on top. Patrick Mahomes, yeah, he's taken some steps back, and certainly against Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, but I think it's the Chiefs' division to lose here at this point. Are you thinking the same thing?
I mean, until just like I won't pick Penn State to beat Ohio State until they actually do.
Right.
I'm not picking anybody to win the AFC West until they actually do.
Yep.
So yeah, Kansas City for me. I think that Super Bowl against the Eagles is probably going to leave a pretty nasty taste in their mouth, and I think there's going to be a lot of guys on that team that are motivated to come back and say, "Hey, we're not dead yet."
Yep.
So I think that they're gonna. I think they may have more of a chip on their shoulder than any team in football.
All right, very good, and I think that's absolutely valid, of course, given the way that their season ended against the Eagles.
Yeah.
So Eric also picked the Kansas City Chiefs. I forget if I had mentioned that. So let's go through the wild. Yeah, let's go through the wild card here. NFC wild card. Eric actually has the Detroit Lions, San Francisco 49ers, and Chicago Bears. Who do you have for your wild card?
I'm going to say Detroit.
Yep.
I'm going to say the Rams.
Detroit's actually one of mine as well for the wild card. So Rams, okay. Yep.
Like I like everything about the Vikings except the fact that they've got a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
So
who I don't think is a pretty good quarterback.
I mean, he's hurt all last year, so who's really to say?
Yeah.
Man, none of these other teams really looks. I feel like they made a lot of strides on the defensive end in terms of people they brought in. I am terrified to gamble on Kyler Murray, but I'll go Arizona.
Okay. All right. I like the pick. I think it's bold for sure.
Yeah.
Like
I don't want to pick all the same teams. So
yeah. Well, look, like I mentioned before, Detroit Lions, I think, are going to make the wild card spot. I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to get it. Bucky Irving, I think, is going to be one of the premier running backs in this league. They're going to rely on him heavily, especially within the red zone. And I think Tampa Bay it's gonna be really close. That Tampa Bay Atlanta Falcons rivalry that they have, and who is going to win that division. Again, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to win, but Tampa Bay gets in with a wild card. And believe it or not, Len, I think the Chicago Bears are going to be getting into the wild card spot.
A lot of people are buying it, and I know they got Ben Johnson from the Lions, and I know it's another year in Caleb Williams' development, and there's a lot to like there. So. That'll be a very interesting division, I think, from top to bottom, the North.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's go to the AFC wild card spots. So what do you think that's going to look like?
Well, right off the bat, I'm going to go Chargers.
Okay.
There's
the Chargers are going to get there. All right.
There's a part of me that wants to say the Bengals just because offensively they're just so loaded, but then defensively
they're terrible.
They're just so not.
And they're not going to get anywhere in the playoffs without defense.
I'm just talking about getting there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Chargers. I'm going to go Broncos. Because I like what's going on there with Bo Nix. And by default, I'm going to go Bengals, but I don't love that pick.
Okay. All right. Eric is going with Cincy, just like you, picking Cincy. Yeah. He's going with the Houston Texans as well, and the Denver Broncos. I got to tell you right now, I said we may be hearing more about the Texans. Texans, I think, are absolutely going to be there. Denver Broncos, absolutely going to be there. And I also actually think the Las Vegas Raiders.
Okay.
I think one of our recent opposition territory pods where we were talking about the Raiders, I think we could see some Chip Kelly resurgence this coming season. since he is their offensive coordinator. And
Yeah.
with Pete Carroll there, I think Las Vegas is going to surprise some folks this year. They actually have a quarterback with Geno Smith now, good relationship with Pete Carroll. It's going to be really interesting to watch for sure. What do you think, Len, the NFC Championship game is going to be when it's all said and done?
I'm going to go. I'm going to go Green Bay, Detroit. I'm going to go all NFC North matchup.
Ooh, Green Bay, Detroit. The Eagles do not make it back to the Super Bowl, according to Len Hunsicker.
It's just hard to do.
It is.
Look, I hope I'm wrong. I super hope I'm wrong, but
yes,
you know,
I'm gonna be going Eagles, Green Bay Packers for my NFC Championship game. In fact, Eric has the same thing. Eagles, Green Bay.
Okay.
As well. I'm just reading here on his text to us. And AFC Championship game. What are your thoughts and predictions there?
AFC Championship game. I'm gonna go. I don't want to be picking chalk all the time, so I'm gonna go Bills Ravens.
Okay. Ooh, I like it. I like that. Eric has Bills, Kansas City. Again, another rematch, with these two teams. But for me, I like how you went with the Ravens. I'm going to be going different too here. I'm actually going to be going Bills, Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos are going to be a really, really good team this season.
I can see it.
Oh, absolutely. Totally see it. Absolutely. One of the best defenses in the league. Bo Nix, I think, is going to be going absolutely crazy this year. He's got some really good wide receivers up there. I think they're going to have a 1-2 punch with their running back situation. RJ Harvey and J.K. Dobbins as well, as he is now healthy. So that's what I'm thinking for the AFC Championship game. What do you think the Super Bowl is going to be, buddy?
I'm gonna call this the Sophie's Choice Bowl.
Oh,
I'm gonna say Bills Lions. Two franchises that, like, if they were playing anybody other than your team, you would be rooting for them in the Super Bowl. Like just two, like, America's team candidates playing each other in an underdog Super Bowl.
All right.
Underdog City Super Bowl, I should say.
Eric has in the Super Bowl Bills versus Green Bay. Eric also thinks the Eagles are not getting back to the Super Bowl here. I'm actually going to be going with an Eagles-Bills Super Bowl.
There you go, Mr. True
Homer,
Believer.
Homer, buddy. And who will be the Super Bowl champion, Len? What are your thoughts there?
I'm going to say the Bills finally do it. Buffalo finally, God bless those people. They finally have something to cheer about.
You and Eric are on the same page.
Really?
You and Eric are absolutely on the same page.
Well, I know why Eric's picking Buffalo.
I mean, his daughter's going to the University of Buffalo now. He's just up there.
They
fell
are
in love with the city.
They are officially his AFC team. I don't think there's any doubt.
If the Eagles and Bills get into the Super Bowl, I really do believe, Len, that the Eagles are repeating.
You better. Oh, of course.
Their Eagles are repeating.
You are the ultimate homer. Well, I mean, be ready to wear that black hat, because if they play the Bills, nobody outside of the greater Philadelphia area is going to be rooting for the
Absolutely.
Holy hell.
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. Oh, I love going through these predictions with you, buddy. This was fun. This was great. We are going to take a break, folks, but if you're new to watching us on YouTube, you can like and subscribe to the show. We would appreciate that. And we are on various social media sites. Just search out the Philadelphia Sports Table. You can search out myself. I'm over on TikTok, by the way, at Mr. Jeff Warren. And I'm over on Blue Sky as well, at Jeff Warren there, at Mr. Jeff Warren, again, over on Instagram. We're also on the Twitter. Just search us out. Search out the Philadelphia Sports Table out there. We'd love it if you would. There's like and subscribe again. So we would love it if you would subscribe and follow us on various social sites out there. We are going to take a break, and we're going to be back in a bit to dive into a ton of Eagles talk here on our Eagles season preview. Stick with us. All right, we are back, and let's dive into this Eagles team. Len, want to dive into really quick and just let everybody know with this 53-man roster, looks like for the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay, I'm going to run through the offense first, then get into the defense, just so everybody's on the same page here. At quarterback, we've got Jalen Hurts, Tanner McKee, Sam Howell. Running back, Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, and A.J. Dillon. On the wide receiver standpoint, we have A.J. Brown, John Mechie, Devontae Smith, Darius Cooper, Jahan Dotson, and Johnny Wilson's on IR now at this point. For the tight end position, Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra, and Kylan Granson. Ben Van Sumeren, he's technically the fullback on the team here. Offensive lineman, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen at right guard, Lane Johnson, one of the best in the league at right tackle. Also, Cameron Williams, Matt Pryor, Brett Toth, Kenyon Green, Fred Johnson, Drew Kendall, and Willie Limpkins on IR. Miles Hinton is also on IR. Let's go over to the defense here. I'm going to run through the starters. Mora Ojomo, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith Jr., we've got in the linebackers room here, Zach Bond, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Jalix Hunt, and we also got in the secondary, Quinyon Mitchell, Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Adoree Jackson, Cooper DeJean. And now to round out this defense, Mac Williams, Keely Ringo, Andrew Makuba, Jacorian Bennett, Joshua Uche, and also Jihad Campbell, Smail Mondon, and Aziz Ojulari as well, Gabe Hall, Ty Robinson, Byron Young, and we've also got Nakobe Dean, who is going to be out for a bit more, nursing his injury. Lewis, is it Cine? C-I-N-E? I'm not even, honestly, I'm not even sure he's on IR at this point. Yeah. And Ogbo, of course I'm going to screw his name. Double O, baby.
I knew it was going to happen, and I was just waiting for it, and man, that makes me happy.
Boy, I saved it for last, and guess what? Oh, boy.
I just have this picture of you in a mirror, like 20 minutes before the show starting, just practicing his name. And then just as soon as you get up to it, just falling down a flight of stairs.
Ogbo. In the mirror, yes. Real quick, special teams, folks. Jake Elliott, Braden Mann, Cooper DeJean is punt returner. I already mentioned him, but Charlie Hewlett is going to be the long snapper as well. So that's our 53-man roster heading into this season. But Len, it's there are concerns certainly with this team. There are definitely concerns with the Philadelphia Eagles heading into this season. Mainly, we've been talking about a lot on the show, the secondary. It is one of the youngest in the entire NFL. Let's really dive into the concerns on offense and defense. I guess we'll start off with the defense. I mean, you're concerned about the secondary as well at this point, right?
And I'm sure anybody that follows this team with any kind of just more than a passing, interest knows that there's, that whole other side of the outside corner, outside of on the other side of Quinyon Mitchell is scary and not in a good way. So, I don't know. I think teams are going to be able to throw on them. It's going to be on Jackson and Bennett to really show teams, hey, you can't throw on me. Because, okay, you move the Gene over there to the outside, then what happens on the nickel? Pick your poison. You got to have an opening somewhere there. And I have a feeling that teams are going to game plan for that. And when they're going to see where those guys are, where Mitchell and DeJean are, and they're going to go away from them. So Vic Fangio is going to have to scheme for that, and it'll be interesting to see what he does there.
Absolutely. And look, my hope, all of our hope, is that one of these cornerbacks really start to develop this year, whether it's Jacorian Bennett or, whether it is Keely Ringo. It could potentially happen, even though he's really fallen out of grace. But I just don't think Adoree Jackson is it. I mean, I've seen him in this league way too many times, especially when he's on the New York Giants. Yeah, just getting overtaken. Anyway, that's definitely a concern.
Yeah, and also defensively, just want to get your opinion on this. The edge rushers, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt.
Yeah,
I mean they're young. They're very young. They've have flashed here and there. but are you 100% sold on them?
No, I'm not.
Yeah,
And this goes
like
back
the
to what.
interior of the defensive line, I'm solid on that, but the edge rushers, I gotta see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and this is a league too where you got a lot of mobile quarterbacks. You got a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
fast quarterbacks who are getting outside of the pocket and able to make plays. If Nolan Smith is able to continue what he did throughout the postseason last year, I'm feeling a little bit better. But you
yeah,
don't lose a veteran presence like this team did during the offseason, and you're just able to pick things back up. It doesn't necessarily work like that. It's
yeah,
another major concern for me too. I'm glad you brought it up.
yeah.
So, all right. Well, moving over to concerns about the offense, Len. For me, there's two concerns I have. If
Okay.
Dallas Goedert goes down, yes, last year it happened. Grant Calcaterra stepped up, and he was okay. He was an okay tight end, but this team wasn't the same without Dallas Goedert.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert is one. I mean, look, Saquon Barkley is one of the reasons why this team is Super Bowl champions. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith. But Dallas Goedert is also and has been a key component to this team. I really want him to stay healthy for all 17
Yeah,
games. Probably not
absolutely.
going to happen, but my concern is the depth at tight end. And it's also another concern I have is also Landon Dickerson, whether it's his back injury, the knee injury that he has been nursing during the course of camp. Landon Dickerson goes down. That could be a real situation here for the offensive line and how this offense performs consequently.
Yeah. And I also have two concerns offensively, and you just mentioned one of them. Landon Dickerson, we don't know how serious that injury is. And I feel like maybe as Eagles fans, we're kind of maybe a little bit spoiled and we're just ready to go, oh, Stoutland University, next man up. And,
Right.
just assume that whoever they plug in there they're just going to be fine. And maybe that'll happen. I don't know. But do you really want to bank on that if you
Right.
don't have to? And Dickerson's he's such a damn good player.
Yeah.
And just one of my favorites on this team. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know if Kenyon Green is it. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
going to be able to fill those shoes. He won't. I mean, he won't be
Yeah.
able to fill those shoes. So how
No.
then does Kevin Patullo go about scheming and the play calling if Landon Dickerson's not out there? It could be a
Yeah.
real big issue. I mean, the medical
Yeah.
staff is going to have to be spot on this year with
Yep.
Landon Dickerson.
Absolutely. And then the other concern I have, and it's, maybe I'm just, being fearful for no reason, but they put some miles on Saquon last year. I'm not saying he's old. I'm not saying, he still, seems as, like he's going to be as explosive as ever, but it just feel like they leaned awful heavy on him last year. And are they going to overdo it?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So yeah, and your tight end thing is totally valid as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, just that kind of worries me a little bit.
I got to tell you, your concern with Saquon, valid. And I know I'm going to get into more of a discussion about Saquon and that expectation of what he did last year. Could he do it again this year with BLG in just a little bit? Len, I'm actually not concerned about it. I honestly,
Okay.
I'm not. I
hope you're right.
The guy, I just believe that when you see that greatness, it's not going to drop off too much.
Yeah.
I really don't, because of what is in front of him. Again, going back to Landon Dickerson, that guy needs to be in place though for it to happen. In my opinion, he is such a key to that left side of the field, and I don't know, but I do not share that same concern with Saquon.
Okay.
I think he's going to kill it.
You're right for sure.
Another 2,000 yard season. Here we go.
You are out of your mind. That, like, seriously, and there's gonna be people that like just assume that's gonna, and just like it's like winning the lottery for $1 million, and then the next day going out and buying another ticket for another $1 million is just be like, oh, I'll just win it again. Just like, okay. I mean, I think he can get 1,500 yards this year. Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah,
and that would be a perfectly damn good season. But yeah, I just feel like, and I think we've talked about this at some point on the show where it's like, oh, he only rushed for 1,500 yards this year. I wonder what's wrong with him. Like, is that, am I going to hear that sentence this year? So
that'll be interesting for sure. All right, well, let's move on to what we're most excited about with the offense and defense. I mean, I mean, this is kind of obvious, I think. I mean, I'm excited again to see Saquon. I'm excited to see Jalen Hurts maybe
Yeah.
take some steps forward in terms of over the field or over the middle of the field passing those intermediate routes that year after year we're saying, okay, we want to see this from him. I'm really excited about that from an offensive perspective. What are you excited about?
I am too. I am. I don't know if he thinks about stuff like this because I don't know if he genuinely cares. But is there a part of him that's been like, okay, I've been in the league a couple years. I've been improving every year. I won a Super Bowl. I was the goddamn Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
What? Why am I still like the ninth best quarterback in the league according to you
Right.
people?
Right.
And again, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy that thinks about stuff like that. But I
Or
do
really
wonder.
cares. Yeah.
Yeah, but it would be interesting to see if he has a moment this year where he's like, yeah, ninth best, huh?
Yep.
Like does
Yep.
something great and then kind of says something to that effect. I don't see it happening, but I I'm looking forward to seeing his growth, his continued growth. I mean, I think the world of him as a leader. I mean, man, you want to talk about a guy that I just think gets it, and I just have no concerns about as a person whatsoever. I mean, Jalen Hurts is more than anybody could ever ask for. So, I
Yes.
mean, if the guy on the field can get anywhere close to the leader and the guy off the field, man, you're going to have something special.
Absolutely. Let's move over to the defense. What we're most excited for over there. I got to tell you, from my standpoint, the dominance, once again, from a linebacker core is what I am really looking forward to seeing how these guys grow. I don't think Zach Bond is going to be taking any steps back. I think Jihad Campbell is going to be a
That's
force
the
to be
guy
reckoned with.
I'm really
Oh,
looking forward to seeing him
yes.
because man, it just seems like just from
Oh,
the moment they drafted him, people are like, Jesus Christ, they did it again.
yeah.
And just from everything you've heard about him in camp, you're just like, oh man, like they might really have something here. And if you can have him and Bond at that linebacker position just causing havoc,
Yeah.
I just think it's going to be just so fun to watch.
Yeah, and I'm also excited for the refs to hopefully be throwing more flags when Jalen Carter is being held on every single play. Look, some of these Eagles games might go 5 hours because he's being held on every play
We'll
and it's
see. Yeah.
not getting called. So I'm
Yeah.
excited for more holding calls against Jalen Carter, not against, but in favor
Yeah.
of the
I
Eagles
don't want to
defense.
see many of those
Yes,
against him, but
exactly.
yeah, I
Exactly.
get what you're saying.
All right. Well, let's move on now to our last segment here where we're going to get into even more Eagles predictions, but we're going to talk about the breakout guy, rising star, guy who needs to rebound, who defensive and offensive players of the year will be, and the Eagles regular season record. We're going to talk about those predictions here. Len, let's get into who you think is going to be the breakout guy this year. And I'm going to also read off some of Eric's thoughts on this as well. Who do you think is going to be the breakout guy?
Um, so there's a part of me that wouldn't be surprised if all three of us have the same breakout guy.
Yeah.
And I am basing mine off of like just a thing that this question was posed to the Eagles players. And my pick is I'm going to go with what they say. So many of them picked Moro Ojomo.
Yeah.
And so
That's
they're
my
the
pick.
ones seeing him in camp every day. So if they're seeing something in camp, then I'm going to pay attention to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing him play and seeing, what he can do. And that's my guy.
That's who my guy is as well. Believe it or not, Eric picked Nolan Smith. So Eric believes that this pass rush is not going to drop off too much, obviously, with
Hope
that
he's
Nolan
right.
Smith pick. Yes. But Moro Ojomo, I think he's going to really not even just replace what we saw with Milton Williams last year. I think we're going to see more productivity from that particular position because of Moro Ojomo and just his that motor. I think he's going to be getting into the backfield. I think he's going to make quarterbacks just get out of the pocket quickly. So I'm with you with Moro Ojomo. What about the rising star player on this Eagles team? Who do you think that's going to be?
So, I mean, I want to say the obvious, which is Jihad Campbell. I'm going to go away from that a little bit. And my pick for this particular thing and the next thing are kind of related. I'm going to go Darius Cooper based on he's
Oh,
another guy that everybody in camp has been like, holy hell. Like,
yeah.
so that's where I'm going to go.
You know who I'm actually going to pick because he's been on this team for a while. People actually think that and he is a veteran at this point. He gets some crap every now and then, but he has come up big in big time spots. And I think he understands the game from a defensive standpoint in terms of understanding and knowing the secondary. Vic Fangio loves him. That's actually Reed Blankenship.
Okay.
I think Reed Blankenship as the rising star, as one of the better safeties in the league, in the entire league. We're talking like up there with Buda Baker and some of those other stars. I think Reed Blankenship is definitely going to be the rising star.
Okay.
All right. Let's move over now to the guy who needs to rebound.
Well, who did Eric say for rising star?
Oh, rising star. I'm sorry. Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell, actually.
Okay. All right.
Which I think is interesting because, like, I think he's already there as a star.
Yeah.
After what he did
I would tend to agree, but hey, if there's another level there to unlock, then
yeah,
I'm all for it.
Absolutely. All right. And the guy who needs to rebound. What are your thoughts here?
Well, I told you they were related. I'm going to say Jahan Dotson. I'm going to say that wide receiver 3 position is if he doesn't come out and perform, I think he's in jeopardy of losing it.
Yeah. Eric has Nakobe Dean, which I think is a very interesting pick.
Well, I mean, that's just like needs
from
an
injury standpoint.
I mean, he just needs to not get hurt.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's actually going to be the guy who's going to be starting cornerback across from Quinyon Mitchell, and that's Adoree Jackson. Yes, he's not been on this team, but man, Adoree Jackson needs to have a rebound year if this secondary is going to be productive. Adoree Jackson definitely is my pick because, man, I am so freaking concerned.
I think he needs to have a breakthrough year. Has he ever been Has he ever been like good to begin with? I mean,
he's struggled every now and then. He's played some decent games when he was with the Titans many years ago. But really, I am so freaking concerned about having Terry McLaurin in the division, Malik Neighbors, CeeDee Lamb, these guys who, when they're in motion, they're going to be motioning out to have that cornerback 2 covering them.
Yeah, or look at look no further than tomorrow night's game against Dallas. I mean, Pickens. I mean, if you're doing the whole fantasy thing, I'd be looking at him because they're going to have Mitchell on Lamb.
Yep.
So Pickens might run wild and have a good game against the Eagles.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's see. Wait, did I do my needs to be rebound?
You said, you said Jackson, didn't you?
Oh, I did say Jack. Jesus, man, I'm losing my mind here. All right. We got 3 more predictions, folks, here. Eagles defensive player of the year and offensive player of the year. For Eric, it's Jalen Carter for defensive player of the year. Who's your defensive player of the year?
Oh, man.
I mean, I'm going with Jalen Carter myself. That's who my pick was.
Yeah, I don't want to kind of go with everybody else, but man, he's such a force.
Dude, he's so dominant, man. He's so dominant.
And he's going to be one of those players that, like, even if he doesn't get the stats because he's getting double teamed and triple teamed, he's just going to take up so much that you can't help but notice that it's happening.
Yeah.
And I think people around the league, even if he's not pulling up numbers, people are going to recognize that and be like, yeah, but look at all he's occupying for the rest of the Eagles defense. So it's hard not to say Jalen Carter.
All right. Offensive player of the year. I'm going with Saquon Barkley based on what I said earlier. I know you have your concerns, and I shouldn't say concerns, but that whole idea of him being able to get 2,000 yards again. And look, do I think it could happen? I actually really do think it could happen again. And I know I'm crazy. You said I was crazy for it. I'm going to remain crazy here with that prediction. But I think Saquon Barkley is going to be the offensive player of the year for this team. Who do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to go in a different direction just to be contrarian. But, I mean, the Eagles have really shown last year that they operate best as a run-first team.
Yeah.
And unless, my worst fears come to reality and he gets hurt, everything goes through him. So, yeah. I mean, and that, not just as a runner, but I mean, he can do stuff out of the passing game too. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, unless they move away from their offensive philosophy, which I think would be silly to do, how can it not be Saquon?
Okay. Eric has Jalen Hurts actually as the offensive player of the year.
I'd be cool with that. I mean,
Absolutely.
It's going with the quarterback's never a bad option.
That means he's growing. If Eric's correct, that means he's growing. And Jalen Hurts is also his MVP of this team as well. But I'm going with Saquon Barkley again. That's who I'm going for with MVP of the team. Who are you going with?
Well, if the defense holds up and all that happens and the guy does what we all think he's going to do, I'm going to go Jalen Carter just to be different.
All right, very good. I think that's very fair, very fair. And then to close us out here, buddy, before we go to our break and before we get to what we're throwing down on the table with Brandon Lee Gowton, that great discussion, the Eagles' regular season record. What do you think the regular season record is going to be? I'll let you think just for a second. Eric is saying 12-5. Okay. I am at 13-4. That's what I think that record's going to be.
Based on some of your predictions so far, I can't believe you're not at 17-0.
Yes. You know what? They might be that next Dolphin team that just goes undefeated. They might do it, Len. This is a powerhouse team.
You're going to give me a goddamn aneurysm. I mean, their schedule is, they've got some tough games in there.
They've got very tough games.
You're at Kansas City. You're at Buffalo. You're at LA facing the Chargers team that I think is going to be a playoff team. Detroit's coming to Philly. So that's a good team. You're at Green Bay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tough schedule. I'm going to go 11-6.
Okay. All right. Wow. All right.
Which again, I think is
taking a step back.
I think is good enough to still win this division, because I do think that Washington, while I do think that they end up in second place, I think they take a bit of a step back just because I feel like that just happens so often to teams. Like they reach this level and they're like, oh man, they're primed for greatness. And then something always seems to happen.
Something seems to happen.
I think it's going to happen to Washington this year. But I still think 11-6 is healthy to win the NFC East.
God forbid Jalen Hurts could go down with a ACL injury in the game against the Chiefs. And then we got either Tanner McKee or Sam Howell at quarterback for the year. That's a situation.
Tanner McKee, right? Isn't he? I mean, everybody seems to be pretty happy with him. I mean,
yes. It's still not terrible, but
not Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Gonna let you go, but first and foremost, folks, if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe to us. We greatly appreciate that. Spread the word about the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show on YouTube, as we've been on this platform, if you're watching us since April. And if you're listening to us, longtime listeners, thanks so much for sticking around. Again, we are going to be doing our Eagles post-game podcast show after every game this season, whether it's Len or Eric or some of our good friends that have joined us over the years as well. We're going to have that content coming your way. Any final words, buddy, before I let you go and before we get to BLG?
Go Birds.
All right, perfect. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a bit, folks. And joining us to continue discussing this Philadelphia Eagles team and what we may be seeing this season from the defending Super Bowl champions, we have from bleedinggreennation.com. He's one of our favorites. He's been coming on for years and years and years. The one and only Brandon Lee Gowton, BLG. How you doing, buddy?
I'm excited, Jeff. Eagles Cowboys week 1.
Yes.
I've been calling for this for years. I've been saying, how are we not getting this game in a week 1 spot when we have all these games between the Cowboys and Eagles where either Jalen Hurts is injured or Dak Prescott is injured. And finally, after 25 years, it only took 25 years, we get an Eagles Cowboys week 1 game.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. The banner is going to be raised. If you're listening to the, when I mean by banner, Super Bowl banner, unless you're, living under a rock, and you're going to get a chance to see that, buddy, right from the press box. That is going to be incredible. Do you remember those feels from back in 2018 when it happened?
Yeah, I was so curious. I was like, what does it look like? Because I didn't know what to expect.
Right.
I also didn't realize that they were going to be going, it's basically double the width of all the other banners that they hang up there in the rafters for, conference wins, division wins, stuff like that. Didn't expect that either. This time, I'm pretty sure from some of the things that have leaked, it's going to be pretty similar to the 2017 one. But the fact that there's going to be 2 of those hanging up there again is pretty unreal. If we could go back in time to the beginning, the 2017 season, I don't think we were expecting that.
Exactly. All right. Yeah, that was a magical season for sure, given the injuries that year. We could talk about that forever, but we want to get into what this upcoming Eagles season may look like. And I really wanted to start off the conversation with you here as we're doing our Eagles season preview, BLG, with the offense. I really want to talk about what we are going to see, and specifically with Jalen Hurts. Look, we know what type of player he is. He was the MVP of the Super Bowl last year. The discipline, the work he puts in consistently week after week, even during the course of the offseason, those stories are out there. But the question that I have is, can Jalen Hurts actually continue to grow as a quarterback in this league and within this Eagles organization? And what might that actually look like as we're heading into this season? Again, him coming off a Super Bowl where he was the MVP. What does this look like? I mean, can he continue to grow as a quarterback, BLG?
I think he can. I mean, he just turned 27 in August, so he's like kind of entering his prime here for your general average NFL player. Obviously, who knows? Tom Brady playing into his mid 40s. You never know.
Right.
But for the normal player, I think, he's in a good spot now entering his prime, not only physically, but I think from a maturity standpoint too. And obviously Jalen Hurts has always come off as extremely mature, but it's different, in terms of having a serious attitude versus having life experience. And I think that's a big thing to factor in here. All the talk about is how Jalen Hurts is feeling more confident than he has before, because I think he feels extremely validated, as he should, by winning a Super Bowl, being Super Bowl MVP. And I think that can help him a lot. Not that he lacked confidence before, but this is like a new level. And it's also a comfort. It's something to kind of maybe fall back on when you're doubting yourself, or because anyone is naturally going to do that at some point in time, whether they show it or not. I think the big progression we see from Jalen Hurts this year is going to be having more of a role than he did last year in the passing attack. Obviously, the Eagles tried to do that early on in 2024. It was not going too well. There's a lot of turnovers. They pivoted away from that. Some of that, I think it's fair to say, is because there's limitations there that they didn't want to try to expose, and they're trying to hide a little bit. At the same time, we saw when Jalen Hurts needed to pass, especially in the biggest games of the season, he was. So it's not as simple as he can't do it at all. So probably going to try to look to strike the balance of that, in theory, a little bit more this year. Just the fact that Saquon Barkley touched the ball so much last season, I don't think it means they're going to go away from that by any means. But just by virtue of they're probably not going to be able to do that to the same extent. They're also probably not going to be in games where the script is always favorable. It's a tougher schedule. They're going to have to pass the ball more just naturally. And that onus is going to be on Jalen Hurts to kind of really step up and take ownership of the passing attack and improve in that regard.
Stepping up in terms of the intermediate routes is something that I'm going to be looking at early on in this season to see if he has grown in that regard, and especially over the middle. How many times have we heard, and how many times have we been talking about those storylines? Is he going to be able to throw over the middle? We know that he loves throwing outside the hashes. He loves throwing towards the sidelines. That is what I'm going to be looking at. But BLG, you mentioned one particular individual in Saquon Barkley and what we may see from him. And I wanted to dive into that a little bit more. Of course, he was named on the NFL Network, the number one player in the league, rightfully so. And, I saw your tweet recently about how he probably should have been named MVP of the league last season. I totally agree. Absolutely. But the question is, can he replicate what he actually did last season? And does he need to replicate what he did last season for this Eagles offense to really have success, to get to the playoffs and possibly repeat here because of who he was on the field? What are your thoughts here?
Obviously, how the season ends, like the playoffs and everything, the Super Bowl, that can't be factored into the MVP award that's voted on before that. But I still think even before that, we should have been able to say, hey, Saquon Barkley is the main character of the 2024 NFL season. Yeah. And MVP is a narrative award. And I feel like at some level, you should think about it as like, wow, when we look back on 2024, let's say 10 years or whatever from now, like, what was really the story of that season? It wasn't Josh Allen. Josh Allen's an incredible player. This is, no shade to him, obviously. Like, he is an MVP deserving kind of talent. No one's arguing otherwise. But it was not like his season. That was not the story of the 2024 NFL season. It should have been Saquon Barkley. Spinning it forward to 2025 here. Maybe I'm a sucker. Maybe I shouldn't really be putting so much faith into a player coming off of a historically big workload. And you look at how those players perform after those seasons. Typically, we obviously have the recent example of Christian McCaffrey, and what happened last year for the 49ers, and he just, never was right for them. It is entirely possible that Saquon Barkley is coming off this massive workload, and it's just not the same thing as we saw last year. But that's honestly not how I feel. So I can't just go with that.
That's not how I feel either. I'm so glad you said that, actually, because I'm tired of this narrative. I think it can be replicated. Maybe not exactly, but right in the realm. I'm so glad you said it.
He looked great in training camp. And it's not just me saying this. I've heard other people say, other beat reporters say, including my good friend John McMullen, Saquon looks better this year in training camp than he did last year. And that's not really that crazy to me from a standpoint of, we see these freak running backs in the NFL, and they are very much the exception, not the rule. But you look at Derrick Henry and how he's able to just somehow endlessly churn out,
keep going,
season, just being ageless, basically. And by all accounts, Saquon takes extremely good care of his body. A lot of NFL players do, not all of them, a lot of them. But I think even of the players who take care of themselves really well, I think Saquon's at the top level of that kind of conditioning and kind of just obsessive about being great and wanting to do this. And he is very much a student of the game, and he really understands NFL history and values that. I think he's very aware that no one has gone back-to-back 2K seasons, and I think he would love to be the first player to do that. Obviously, again, a lot of players would have loved to do that, but I think his want to is different than those guys, and he is more motivated and driven and just outright talented than a lot of those other players in those positions. So, and also from the Eagles' offensive standpoint, I think, like I said earlier, they're probably ideally going to want to not have him touch the ball as much. But the reality that will face them is that probably he's just going to be the best answer, and they're going to have to do it because they want to win football games. And in a perfect world, you would like to manage the touches, but it doesn't work like that in the heat of the moment when you're in the game and you need a big play or you need your offense to get going. And there were times in training camp where the passing game would be out of sync sometimes. And in fairness, they're missing Devontae Smith. They're missing A.J. Brown at different stretches. Those guys are healthy. It's obviously a big factor. But my point is, I think there will be times throughout the season where the passing game, not that it's terrible all around, but just might not be quite what you want it to be. And when you're in those situations, the easy button to press is going to be Saquon Barkley over and over and over. So I think it's going to be another big-time year for Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, it's a really good segue, BLG, into the next topic here, too, because of what the offense could be, what it should be, what we may see right out of the gate, because we're talking about Jalen Hurts, talking about Saquon Barkley, those expectations. But I do wonder if we're going to see any alterations to the offense under Kevin Patullo. I do wonder if we will. And yes, he's been in the system, the Eagles system here for a while, been working with Nick Sirianni for quite some time. I'm wondering, though, do you think we will end up seeing any type of changes based on preserving Saquon, like you were just talking about? Even what, may happen with Landon Dickerson. I mean, we've been talking about that storyline on this show for a while now. I'm concerned about the left guard position just from a health standpoint and what that means to the offense in general, in terms of the productivity, getting the ball down the field, in the run game, in the passing game as well. I don't know. Do you think we're going to see any alterations here right out of the gate, or is it going to be just, same old, what we've been used to seeing?
Yeah, I do believe that Kevin Patullo is going to bring his own ideas to this offense. I think that's kind of been slept on a little bit from a standpoint of people just look at Kevin Patullo and the fact that he's been Nick Sirianni's right-hand man, and he almost has no identity outside of that. I just don't agree with that because he was in the NFL at other stops before he worked with Nick Sirianni. He worked notably with Chan Gailey. So he has his own ideas. And also, when you hear Kevin Patullo talk, and this doesn't mean he's going to be a great or even good offensive coordinator, because there's plenty of smart sounding people who might not be good at their job, especially in this circumstance. So I think just because Kevin Patullo comes off well in his press conferences, again, doesn't mean he's going to be a great OC. But as far as what we know now, before I see his track record of play calling, he seems like a pretty bright guy. So I'm willing to give that guy some benefit of the doubt here. And I think he's going to have his own ideas. I don't think it's just, we're going to continue to do what we did last year, and I'm not going to put any kind of twist on it. What will those twists be? And there's been speculation it could be more shots down the field. That would seem natural from the standpoint of just the Eagles not doing that much at all last year.
Right.
In part because they wanted to play such a, take care of the ball, don't turn the ball over, don't risk turning the ball over with Jalen Hurts. But they're probably going to have to go a little bit more in that direction than they did last year, as I just don't think they're going to be able to replicate exactly what they did once again. So, I don't think it's reinventing the wheel because they've had so much success on offense that they're just not going to be like, oh, let's scrap everything we used to and try a bunch of new ideas. But I do think they realize that coming off of the 2022 Super Bowl appearance season and maybe not kind of inventing the offense enough, and by Jeffrey Lurie talking about needing fresh ideas, Nick Sirianni kind of admitting the offense went stale at one point there. They realize I think they're going to have to introduce some things here that freshen it up.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see that for sure. It's going to be real interesting. And again, folks, we're talking to BLG, Brandon Lee Gowton from bleedinggreennation.com. If they're, what am I talking about? I always say this to you. If folks aren't following you, you get your socials out. Everybody's following BLG out there, but just for the sake of it, my friend, let everybody know they can find you on the interwebs.
Oh yeah, at Brandon Gowton on Twitter. I believe on Threads as well. I think it's Brandon Lee Gowton on Blue Sky. So anywhere on social media, probably just search my first and last name, and that should pop up. And then also bleedinggreennation.com. Check that out. Make sure you sign up for an account, by the way, if you don't want to see as many ads. That's a nice little perk that we have going on. So it's free. You don't have to do anything. Just sign in to your account. If you want to comment, go ahead. It'd be great to have you on board. But if you just want to lurk and read the articles and you're signed in, you'll see fewer ads. So that's just a nice little bonus we have going as well.
Awesome. Folks, we got to take a break. Got to pay some bills. But when we get back, we got much more Eagles talk coming your way. Stick with us. All right, we are back with our good friend Brandon Lee Gowton from bleedinggreennation.com, at Brandon Gowton over on the Twitter/X. And I wanted to get into a topic we've gotten into every now and again when you are on BLG, because I absolutely love talking about special teams. It's a critically important part of the game, but it's always towards the bottom of the ladder in terms of importance. But I want to get into Jake Elliott here because Jake had his worst regular season last year. He only made 77.8% of his kicks and was ranked 26th in the league during the course of the regular season. I'm wondering, man, is there a possibility from anything that you have heard? I mean, is there a possibility that if he struggles this season, kind of like he did last year, that he could potentially be on the chopping block here? What are you thinking?
That would be pretty concerning. I do think he's going to bounce back. I've been bullish on that just from a standpoint of even like last year during the season. I was like, this is probably just one of those down years that kickers tend to have. It's not abnormal for even good kickers in the NFL to just have a down year mixed in there. And you looked at the last time Jake Elliott had a down year like this, it was in 2020. And he bounced back with his only Pro Bowl season the next year in 2021. Yeah. So I'm expecting a bounce back from Jake. He looked good in training camp. Didn't really see any issues there. I believe he had 2 kicks from 50 plus just in the final preseason game.
Yes,
the Jets. That's one more than he had all of last year in the regular season.
Yes,
when he was 1 of 7 from 50 plus. So I think I've seen enough there to believe that. To what extent he bounces back, I don't know, but I feel like he's going to be better at least than he was last year.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move over to the defense here, BLG, because I think a lot of us here are a bit skeptical about cornerback 2, what that position is going to be, filling those roles throughout the early part of the season, how it's really going to shake out, and if it will be a shaky position for the defense. I mean, I am concerned at this point about it, although based on what Vic Fangio has done with this defense, especially what he did last year after week 4, I think we have to trust him for sure. But, I mean, are we going to see some tough times with such a young secondary right out of the gate this season? What are your thoughts about these concerns that a lot of us are talking about here?
I think it's a legitimate concern. Watching the cornerback 2 battle in training camp, there really wasn't a winner. It wasn't like Adoree Jackson outshined Kelee Ringo. It's more of like Kelee Ringo totally lost the job. Got to that by the end of the training camp, and currently on the Eagles' own depth chart has like fallen out of starting contention, which is really unfortunate because I think they were counting on him to make a leap. Yeah. And they brought in Adoree Jackson basically to be like, hey, Kelee, this is your competition. Beat this guy out. It's not a very high bar to clear. Adoree Jackson is not terrible. He's been okay. Clearly,
I've seen him play in those Giants games, BLG, and there's some broken coverages and just some not good play in terms of secondary play.
I think the specific weakness with him that has stood out here, especially more recently in his career, this will be his age 30 season. I think he's a little not trusting of his speed. So
Yeah.
I think he tends to play off a little bit more than he probably should. And, worst case scenario, you're not getting beat over the top. Like, you can kind of live with that. It's obviously what they want to do. They want to eliminate big explosive plays like that. At the same time, if it's just like easy for the other team to go and beat your guy because he's giving up so much underneath, like, teams are going to expose that, and they're going to find a way to march down the field and continue to take advantage of that. So Dory Jackson is your week 1 starter. I think that's okay. I don't think that means that he's even the starter by the second half if things are going poorly.
Right.
You could flip the switch there to Ja'Cory Bennett that the Eagles traded for. If Dory Jackson makes it through, great. And then maybe at some point down the road, it's likely that Bennett probably takes over. It's possible that Kelee Ringo works his way back into the mix. I don't feel optimistic about Kelee Ringo's outlook after the summer he had, but I will say we weren't feeling great about Nolan Smith at this time last year either.
That's a great point.
It's not an apples-to-apples situation, but the point is sometimes over the course of a season, things can happen and players can get better. So, and I think that's how the Eagles view it. I don't think they've written off Kelee Ringo forever. I obviously think they don't want him to play right now. Doesn't mean he can't be a factor later on if struggles, if injuries, give him an opportunity to play. But in the short term, to answer the question, I absolutely think it's a concern. There's some mitigating factors that the Eagles have in terms of, like you mentioned, they have Vic Fangio. That gives them a way to kind of work around that. You have situations where Dory Jackson probably not going to be on the field in base defense, which the Eagles don't play a ton, but still, it's not counting on him to play 100% of the snaps. There will be snaps there where it could be Cooper DeJean on the outside when the Eagles are in that base defense. So there are some things you can kind of do to like work around it to some extent, but obviously it is a big concern.
When you have receivers like CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors in the division, along with Terry McLaurin, it's concerning, how other offenses may scheme to make sure that their matchups are against one Dory Jackson or Kelee Ringo, quite frankly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out too. But before I let you go, buddy, just continuing to talk about the defense and some more of the strengths of this defense. I mean, Jalen Carter certainly going to be that dominant guy right in the middle of this field, given that he stays healthy. But I'm hoping, as we're concluding our discussion here, we can go through this defense. And if you can give me a guy that you think, or that you're actually keeping your eyes on this season to really have tremendous impact, given the changes that we've actually seen with this defense since the Super Bowl. So let's start off with the defensive line here. Like, who do you think is really going to have a tremendous impact? Again, maybe outside of Jalen Carter, because we know what he is and what he means to this defense. Who is that for you on the defensive line that you think is going to have tremendous impact?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Moro Ojomo. Had a great training camp. He was awesome, just consistently getting into the backfield, both as a pass rusher and against the run. Really reminded me of what we saw from Milton Williams in training camp last year. Just incredibly disruptive. Like, you're not even watching him before the play, and you're watching him by the end of the play because he just keeps popping up over and over. And I don't think that's just because there's some concern like, oh, he's going up against Tyler Steen and smoking him. Wasn't the case. He's going up against Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens at times too. And it wasn't about them being terrible. It was about Moro Ojomo just being a really good player. So I think that's big. And another thing I'll add in there, early in training camp, Jalen Carter wasn't practicing due to a shoulder injury. Moro Ojomo was still having all that success. So that tells you too, this isn't just a matter of like, oh, it doesn't matter who you stick next to Jalen Carter. That guy can be awesome. No, like Moro Ojomo, I think is going to be a very good player and certainly will benefit from Jalen Carter getting a lot of attention. So I think that's the big name on the defensive line that I feel good about.
All right. Well, let's move to the linebacker core here. I mean, who is that one tremendous impact player that you're going to be keeping your eyes on?
Yeah, I mean, I love Zach Bond. But he's already. We already know. I think we already know what Zach Bond is. I mean,
he's awesome.
He's awesome last year. I think he could have a case to be the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL after this season, depending on what we see from Fred Warner, who's obviously very great as well. So you could be splitting hairs there. But no disrespect to him. I just think Zach Bond is that good. But I'm going to go with Jahad Campbell just from the standpoint of it's so much more interesting to see what he will be. He's one of the youngest players on the Eagles roster at 21 years old. And we saw him win a starting job at linebacker this training camp. And that wasn't just because, like, oh, they gave it to him. Obviously, he's a first-round pick. He's going to start. Not the case. Right. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. had a really good summer and got a lot of the first-team reps there until late in training camp. It was actually the final practice that they had when Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell were finally together for the first time. And part of that was Bond missed a big period of training camp. But still, the fact that Jahad Campbell has outperformed Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and has earned that starting job as a rookie. Just an intriguing player to like physically look at because he's so big, but he's athletic as well. And when you just pair him with Zach Bond, you can think about like, oh, the different things they might be able to do with those guys. And sometimes they're going to be rushing the passer. Sometimes they're going to be dropping into coverage. That's a really intriguing duo. And I can't wait to see them.
Helping to generate turnovers too. I mean, that's what we need to see with this defense for sure this season. So what about the secondary? A tremendous impact player from the secondary this year. What are your thoughts?
I think, so sometimes you look at a player who's already good and it's not like the most fun thing to say they're good already. Yeah. So I know we already know Quinyon Mitchell is really good. I think it's a different level for him this year. I think he's going to make a leap from what he was, which is already pretty amazing in year one, to being like all pro kind of quarterback, lockdown guy in year two. Like, again, he looked great last year and even in training camp, but it was a different level this summer where he's going up against AJ Brown and he's going against Devontae Smith.
Right.
And let me be clear, like no one can, is able to slow down AJ Brown typically. Like you could have perfect coverage. It doesn't matter. Like AJ Brown's just going to win because he is awesome. And yet Quinyon Mitchell a number of times this summer, like shut him down. And I think that speaks to how good Quinyon can be. He also had a couple interceptions in training camp. You would like to see that ball production tick up here. And, the concern is really not about him as much as it's, how much will the other teams be able to take advantage of the cornerback 2 spot and then maybe just throw away from Quinyon Mitchell. So maybe he doesn't see targets because of that. But obviously, that's also a testament to him. They're not going to test him.
Right.
And certainly the Eagles will take that if the teams just totally ignore the guy he's covering and try to figure it out. Otherwise, that gives you, options to kind of work around that. But yeah, I think Quinyon Mitchell is going to just take another leap forward this year and be talked about as one of these kind of lockdown corners, like, Revis Island kind of just totally dominant. You don't test that guy.
Right. It's going to be wonderful to see. Cannot believe this season is here. Dallas Cowboys this week, week 1, Kansas City Chiefs, week 2, folks. It is going to be fun to watch this Eagles team. And make sure you're heading over to bleedinggreennation.com, one of our favorite Eagles websites. They have fantastic content, fantastic writers, BLG running the show over there. My friend, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Always love having you on. Come back and join us down the road. I'd love to have you on again. Talk birds, talk some NFL.
I will.